Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So smartphone companies are trying their best to make the all-screen bezel-less phone by introducing notches and then the hole punches for the front camera. But what if we use the same camera on both the back and the front as well somehow? So the Zenfone 6 by Asus and the Samsung's Galaxy A80 are doing the same thing but in slightly different ways. So in this video, I am going to compare these two handsets, while as for the price, the Samsung's Galaxy is costing slightly more right now than the Zenfone. So starting off with the construction on both, it's gonna be super premium, which includes aluminium frame and curved glass backs, which on both will be Gorilla Glass. The screen is 6.4 inches diagonally on the Zenfone versus larger 6.7 inches on the Galaxy A80. So in terms of their overall size, the Galaxy is gonna be slightly more wider and more longer than the Zenfone, while the Zenfone is also not a small phone, being almost equal to the Galaxy S10 Plus in size. Both phones are gonna be slightly more thicker than usual, and as for the weight, the A80 is gonna be significantly more heavier. Both phones have almost the same side bezels and the toe bezel, while the bottom bezel, aka the chin, is significantly more thinner on the Galaxy. For security, the fingerprint scanner is on the back on the Zenfone 6 versus its in-screen optical scanner on the A80, which is gonna be slower than the scanner on the Zenfone 6, and the face unlock feature is not present on the A80 versus the Zenfone is gonna have it. Both phones are gonna have the USB Type-C port for connectivity, and the headphone jack is on the bottom side on the Zenfone versus the Galaxy does not have the headphone jack, and the loudspeaker is on the bottom side on the A80, and the handset is not gonna have the earpiece speaker. Its whole upper side of the screen will work as an earpiece during calls versus the Zenfone 6 is gonna have stereo speakers, one speaker being the earpiece and the other one is gonna be facing the bottom side, while the bottom speaker is gonna be more louder. And at last, these phones are not gonna be water resistant, but also these are gonna be very vulnerable to it as it can easily get inside these. Now as for these displays, it's gonna be IPS LCD on the Zenfone 6 versus Super AMOLED on the Galaxy A80. The resolution will be Full HD on both, so same screen sharpness, which is gonna be good. On the A80, you are gonna get deeper blacks and very high contrast ratio thanks to its OLED screen, and the always on display feature is gonna be there too on the handset, versus on the Zenfone there's not gonna be the always on display, but the handset does have a notification LED which is multicolored, and to protect the screens there will be Gorilla Glass on both. As for the performance, we will be getting the best right now, the Snapdragon 855 on the Zenfone 6, versus on the A80 there will be Snapdragon 730 inside it. So in everyday use, the Zenfone is gonna be more fluid and it's gonna be noticeable easily, while the Snapdragon 730 is equal to the Snapdragon 835 in terms of the CPU performance, means it's also not gonna be bad in any way. And as for 3D and gaming, the Galaxy can run all the modern games on high settings including PUBG, while the GPU on the Snapdragon 855 which we have on the Zenfone is more than twice as fast as the GPU on the Snapdragon 730, means on the Asus you are not gonna have any in-game lag issues for the coming 2 or 3 years. The RAM will be 8GB on both of these, which is great, while the Zenfone is also gonna have a 6GB RAM variant, which is also gonna be great. The storage variants will be 64, 128 or 256GB for the Zenfone, and it is gonna be expandable too, versus on the Galaxy we are only gonna be getting 128GB of storage, which is also not gonna be expandable, so it's not a good thing. And as for the OS, it's gonna be Android 9 Pie on both of these, where the UI will be very close to stock Android on the Zenfone versus Samsung's One UI on the A80, and both of these will have a dark mode. Coming to the cameras, so on both, the main sensor will be the same 48 megapixel quad rear sensor, means it's designed to output images in 12 megapixels. So how is the image quality? In good lighting, it's pretty good from both of these. The 12 megapixels detail is on point along with good dynamic range. From both, you can also take full 48 megapixel shots, but it is not recommended. On the Zenfone, along with HDR mode, there's also gonna be an HDR Plus enhanced mode, which requires exposure of at least 2 or 3 seconds, but it further increases the dynamic range. The picture with this mode does not look normal at all, but it further brightens the shadows. which is great. In low light, both of these performs almost the same as well. You are gonna lose detail and noise will be there too, but low light shots are not gonna be bad from both, while also on both handsets there's gonna be long exposure night mode, which reduces noise and increases dynamic range. The wide angle sensor will be 13 megapixels on the Zenfone with 125 degrees of field of view, versus on the A80 it will be 8 megapixels with 123 degrees of field of view. Both of these will have limited dynamic range, while on the A80 the detail will be very low compared to the Zenfone, and in low light both of these are gonna be just bad. On the A80 the third camera is gonna be a time of flight camera, which is gonna help with portraits, while on the Zenfone the portraits are gonna be just as good, and both can also take portraits of non-human subjects. On the Zenfone, as the camera flips by 180 degrees, you can actually control the rotation of the camera module manually, so it can also capture full 180 degrees panoramas without you having to move, versus on the A80 you cannot do that. There's just a front and a back toggle on the handset. As for video recording, it will be 4K at 30 or 1080p at 60 on the A80 versus 4K at 60 or 1080p at 60 on the Zenfone 6. No optical stabilization on both of these, but EIS will work at 4K at 60 FPS mode on the Zenfone, which is very impressive, versus 1080p at 30 FPS mode is gonna have electronic stabilization on the A80. As for the wide angle videos, they will be in 4K resolution at 30 FPS or in 1080p at 60 FPS on the Zenfone versus 1080p at 30 FPS on the A80, so more detailed and smooth wide angle videos on the Asus. Slow motion recording will be at 240 FPS on both of these at 1080p resolution, and super slow motion recording will be at 480 FPS on both in 720p resolution. On the A80 it will be for 0.4 seconds, so it will give you 6 seconds of slow motion playback, while for the Zenfone I don't know the exact number, but the maximum I have seen is 0.7 seconds, so 11 seconds of super slow motion playback, which is more than the Galaxy. The Galaxy A80 will use its time of flight camera to capture portrait videos, and this feature works well on the handset, and the Zenfone 6 does not have this. The Galaxy will also have the super steady video feature, which will use the wide angle camera to capture normal videos but super stabilized and shake free. Now coming to the front, on the Zenfone it's just gonna be a 180 degrees flip, which is basically a one-step process, while on the A80 the whole camera module lifts up first and then the camera rotates itself, so being slightly more complicated process. As for the selfies, they're gonna be great. The dynamic range is gonna be super along with good detail. For group selfies, more than 120 degrees of field of view on both, which is super wide for the front. And we're also gonna have portrait selfies and 4K video recording on both of these, while thanks to the 3D camera, the A80 can also shoot portrait selfie videos. And at last, coming to the battery, and here the Zenfone is gonna be ahead easily with its 5000 mAh battery, versus on the A80 it's 3700 mAh. On the Zenfone, the screen and the chipset are gonna eat more battery, but still the screen on time will be very good on the Asus, versus on the A80 it's gonna be below good, and by that I mean full day with normal use. Both phones does not have the wireless charging feature, and as for fast charging, in 1 hour the Zenfone gets to about 65%, while it takes close to 2 hours and 15 minutes for the handset to fully charge, versus I couldn't find how much time it takes to fully charge the Galaxy A80, while it should not be over 1 hour and 40 minutes, but I will post the exact numbers in the comments as I will find them. So this is it for this video guys. Let me know what you guys think about both handsets, and if you found this video interesting then be sure to like it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out.